Welcome to the Grand Theft World podcast, hosted and sponsored by the members over at grandtheftworld.com. So we don't have to do any ad reads or tell you about any sponsors other than Autonomy. All right, so tonight we're covering the past week's news. There's been a lot of things going on. We had major world events like Justin Trudeau has resigned his position as prime minister and leader of the party. I don't even think he's maybe 50 years old yet. So he's just stepping down from one of the highest power positions in the world. He had been groomed by Klaus Schwab in the World Economic Forum. Let's see tonight maybe why he's stepping down, what pressure he's getting, what he might be scared of. Trump talking about taking over Canada as 51st state might be one of those things. Speaking of America, Democrats have called for Insurrection Day. They want their own type of January 6th thing where they get all riled up and then prosecuted and persecuted for the next 4 years. So they're signing up for that. Ben and Jerry's and Unilever's all behind it. A lot of support behind that. Trump was sentenced this past week. He had the multiple 30 plus alleged felonies. Well, he got sentenced to an unconditional dismissal of the charges in the case, I guess. So they had to make a big deal about nothing. And I'm wondering if when the Republicans get in, they run the Democrats through the same sort of ringer and persecution and raids and all that sort of stuff that they suffered for the past 4 years. It would make for fair play, but is that the best thing for our country? We're going to have to learn about those things. Elon sees your future. He sees your future. He's got a magic ball. He's like, I see your social credit score. So these types of things that have cohabitated over in China. We've looked at them for years. It's not a good thing. The social credit score being brought into the home of freedom of speech, allegedly over on social media. I don't think so much freedom of speech. There's still a lot of censorship going on over there and red listing and blacklisting, but it's freer than it was maybe in the past 8 or 9 years. Cybertruck, speaking of Elon, Cybertruck bomber, the manifestos were confirmed this past week. So we played a clip of Ryan Macbeth last week that said Sean Ryan and Sam Shoemate were liars. And then Ryan Macbeth this past week had to come out and make an apology video because he found out that even though the claims seem pretty far out, they do have veracity of coming from the guy allegedly who did the Cybertruck bombing. There is more to be learned about that as we'll dig into tonight because there's a lot more to be seen, especially since he had 60 pounds of ball bearings in the form of shotgun shells, bird shot mostly. But that comes with an intention to hurt people around you. So now the whole thing doesn't make a lot of sense because you're intending to hurt people, but you build it inside the safest truck and you use Chat GPT to make your plan. But if you ask Chat GPT, what is the worst truck to do such a bombing to make a vehicle-borne IED, it'll tell you the number one worst vehicle on the market to use is the Cybertruck. So I don't see how you use Chat GPT and end up with a Cybertruck with 60 pounds of bird shot that don't really hurt anybody except the occupant who shot himself while simultaneously lighting the fuse or having driven there with white gas, racing gas pouring out of the truck, which is ironic because it's electric. To have the windows up and drive with that type of toxicity for any type of distance consistently also doesn't make sense. So the more facts they give us about that, the less sense it's making. So we're going to have to look into that. Now, LA is not only on fire, it's slated to be one of the United Nations smart cities, World Economic Forum, examples of futuristic technology by 2028. And the question has always been, how are they going to move those people? And now climate change apparently has taken hold on California and is forcing people to move in the numbers of hundreds of thousands at a time. And we're going to take a look into that because those California wildfires are still ongoing. They started this past Tuesday, and there's a lot of people who are now homeless and without hope because there's a large number of people being adversely affected in the situation where you can't expect the people who created the situation to come and be your saviors and help you out. So we're going to look into Gavin Newsom. We're going to look into the LA mayor who was in Ghana. That's in Africa while this all started. We're also going to look into the DEI policies of the Los Angeles Fire Department. And we do have an orientation video from the LA Fire Department that we're going to see tonight. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's show. Let's go to Luke Radowski of wearechange.org and thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Let's get his report from earlier today, and then we'll dig into analyzing the week's news.
One day life is normal, and then the next this happens. As who's responsible, who's to blame? Could it be drones? Well, actually, maybe, as of course that conversation just got a whole lot more interesting, as of course Donald Trump made some very important announcements that now we are finding out that there's actually more drones in more different states with more serious questions about them. This as we still have the larger backdrop that could be connected to what's happening in California right now that Joe Biden is trying to explain as just some kind of a bad rap for the governor of California that allocated a tremendous amounts of funds on illegal immigrants rather than, of course, the local constituents and the infrastructure of his own state.
Right? When they do that, guess what? They shut off the power that controls the ability to pump the water. And so now they're giving in generators here. I mean, this is complicated stuff. They're going to have a lot of demagogues out there trying.
And nope, Jack, that's not how it works. He just literally made that up. As the damage that's being done right now to one of the most expensive and most beautiful places on earth is extensive. It is just flabbergasting, shocking, and surprising to see this level of just total annihilation of a place that so many people coveted, so many people loved, so many people liked, that has been eviscerated just like any type of freedom or economic opportunities in the state of California. As of right now, we got the latest death toll of 16 people. Expect that number to rise drastically as the life and property loss is still not accurately calculated, as we still have many fires ongoing right now, as the incoming president of the United States just made some very interesting comments about drones that I think is worth paying attention to, as some people are correlating it with these fires.
Any idea whatever happened to the drones?
What happened to drones?
Well, you had said that you knew that you thought the government knew what was happening with these drones over New Jersey. There were some by Bedminster.
I don't know. They're over Bedminster a lot, so I can imagine. I'm going to give you a report on drones about one day into the administration, because I think it's ridiculous that they're not telling you about what's going on with the drones. And it's not only with me. Glenn was telling me today that in Virginia they have drones all over the place too, and nobody's reporting it. I don't know why they're not. Do you want to say something about that?
Just one quick comment, which is we are home to the largest naval base in the world in Quantico, and we house a lot of the SEAL teams and have a huge national security infrastructure. And now for 2 years running, we have had drone incursion over secure airspace, and we still don't know why. And I think that's absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah, as what in the world's going on here? As those questions still remain, they went away very quickly with the onset of this H-1B visa debate, with the onset of the larger kind of terror attacks that happened on day one of 2025. And now with the wildfires, everyone kind of forgot about them until that one reporter decided to ask Donald Trump about it when he was meeting with fellow Republican governors just a few days ago at Mar-a-Lago. As the comments get a little bit more bizarre, a little bit more wild from the future president of the United States, who, unlike this current regime, unlike this current establishment, isn't just speaking out of the both sides of their mouth when it comes to this larger drone issue, and actually is promising to give the American people some answers rather than some confusing, gobbledygook, absolute nonsense, as this government that currently is in charge has been giving us multiple different explanations that just don't add up, don't make any sense, and has added to the larger speculation and fear that a lot of people have faced now because of their unwillingness to actually be honest with the American people.
President Trump and the new leadership coming in, I think, will work diligently to understand who's behind this and what we do in order to stop the digital surveillance of all of our secure infrastructure.
Is it dangerous?
Well, I can tell you this. While we were dealing with a terrorist attack in New Orleans, we had drones being flown over our nuclear reactors in Louisiana. And we brought that attention to the FAA. We've been asking the FAA to give these states the ability to mitigate these drones, and it's sitting on some bureaucrat's desk. And that's real.
Whoa. Hey there. Why haven't we heard about that one? That's another big one that is important to know. Drones over nuclear reactors and facilities in Louisiana during a major terror event. Yeah. Whoa, hold on there. Yeah. Well, are we Are you kidding me? And you're telling me no one has got a grip on this? No one understands what's really going on here? That we don't have an official explanation? As of course, the more you look into this entire story, the more wild and bewildering it becomes. As of course, these are the stories that we know about. Now imagine, speculate the stories that we do not know about.
They don't want to talk about it. Go ahead, Governor, you're going to say?
I was just going to say we have drones in Wyoming flying over our infrastructure as well. And it's incredibly frustrating that we not only have no way of knowing what it is, but nobody knows how to deal with them.
They don't want to talk about it, and nobody knows why. They don't want to talk about it. That could be us sending drones. I hope that's the case, us doing it and doing research, and maybe they don't want to talk about it from that standpoint. I hope it's not an enemy, but we're going to find out on the 21st, the day after. You have to give me a little time for the inauguration, but shortly thereafter, we'll give you a report on it. We'll tell you exactly what it is. They know, and it's very strange that they aren't talking.
Yeah, that's huge. I'm going to be waiting for this particular report, as of course I think it's more important than ever to actually get some legitimate answers and an understanding to, hey, this is happening now in multiple states. This is happening in multiple jurisdictions, and the top leadership of the state can't crack this one, can't figure it out, can't understand, can't give their constituents an answer to, hey, this is what's happening within our own state. So this is big. This is major, as we could expect some major fireworks on day one of the Trump administration that, of course, we are going to be covering live here on this particular YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to click the notification button. As you can see, we are having a lot of tumultuous issues financially that are not easy to deal with. We still have a few hats left, a few signs left, a part of our larger fundraiser on SaveLukeNow.com in order to pay off the larger lawyer that we have to get to deal with this larger, huge IRS bill that I'm personally dealing with right now. That's not fun to deal with. So we got a lot of good products available to you. We're trying to rearrange things. There was an unfortunate thing that happened to our podcast that really sucks. We're trying to figure out how to bring it back, how to make things kind of happen again in a good, kind of honest, coherent way. And we're up against a wall here, and it's not fun. But hey, if you guys like what we're doing, if you've been around with us for over 20 plus years that we've been around, support us, because we need your support more than ever. And one quick, easy way is to just become a monthly supporter on lukeunfiltered.com, and you get a lot of really cool things in exchange for that. Or you could just buy some of the limited edition items that we have available to you that also go towards our kind of legal fundraiser. But either of those, SaveLukeNow.com. Click the link down in the description below to learn about what we're going through and the larger kind of uphill battles that we have here as an independent media organization. As truly, we're in one of the darkest times for this news organization, and your support is more crucial than ever. And we can't thank you guys enough for all of your support, all of your dedication, and truly, just understand, we're in a very tough spot. SaveLukeNow.com, as of course. I'm going to continue on with this particular news story, as now we have this from the Mirror talking about mysterious drones that have been spotted flying over the California wildfires. As of course, we continue to get footage like this that a lot of people are correlating and saying, hey, something's up here. As other people are saying, stop it, that's just a shooting star. As other people are saying, there's other kind of sightings here, specifically with drones being unaffected by 50-mile-an-hour winds. Other people are playing footage like this, specifically highlighting this little segment here, showing that this larger kind of light streak in the sky is going back and forth. And of course, now there's also a lot of fake videos and photos out there as well that are circulating on the internet saying, hey, there's drones in Louisiana, Virginia, New Jersey, and other parts of the United States. You think that there's not any drones right now in California? And of course, there probably is. Now, are they the secretive kind of weird car-sized drones that could evade detection and take down other smaller drones around them that police departments have had a very difficult time tracking and actually finding? Are those the same ones that, of course, were over Bedminster and New Jersey? Well, we don't have any kind of conclusive reports or evidence suggesting that. All we have is a lot of weird, kind of blurry, weird images and photos saying, hey, look, there's drones now over these wildfires. As the speculation is, of course, growing. Why is it growing? Why are people now coming to their own conclusions? Why are people more conspiracy-minded more than ever? Because the government is full of crap, and they're not being honest and transparent with the American public. Therefore, they breed a lot of this larger suspicion that wouldn't even be there if we just had a semblance of some kind of open dialogue and communication that was honest, that was real, that was at least truthful. And of course, the American people haven't gotten that in a very long time. Will we under Donald Trump? Well, that's what a lot of people hope for. As we do know for a fact, there are some types of drones flying over the LA fires, and those are private drones, as now multiple law enforcement and authority figures in California are coming out and saying, hey, please stop flying your private drones. They are interfering with aerial firefighter efforts. As of course, we would absolutely understand that probably is a likely scenario that's unfolding here, as we even have one documented case of a Canadian super scooper plane, a plane designated to pick up water and then take off, that was actually grounded because it was hit by a civilian drone. So yeah, I know people want to catch the crazy footage on their drones, but this is not really the time to do so. This, as we're dealing with a very severe situation that clearly takes a lot of effort, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of understanding, and a lot of people don't have that. They don't have a lot of patience here, as the National Guard has been called in order to enact a curfew and to try to curb looting, as we also got news reports of LA cops rushing to Kamala Harris's Brentwood home, as there was reports of people there potentially trying to break into it. This, as tempers are flaring, as a lot of people are also now describing how there's scenarios that accuse Kim Kardashian of wasting water on her garden rather than conserving and saving water so they could be enough in the fire hydrants that, of course, have routinely been tapped and dried. As a lot of California residents are now asking, why are we paying so much in taxes as we can't even deal with wildfires? Where is the money going to? As, of course, that money is going towards illegal immigration and changing the face of this country demographic-wise, as the state of California literally spent billions of dollars on free healthcare for illegals while they were making significant budget cuts to the fire department.
A healthcare benefit for migrants. They are now going to extend free healthcare to migrants between the ages of 26 and 49. That's going to cover 700,000 additional people and cost the state $2.6 billion each year. Now, that's added onto that's added onto California's deficit, which is already $68 billion.
Yeah, let's just spend it like it's going out of business, because that's exactly what California is doing, as they have shown to be not prepared for these larger situations that clearly they have failed their constituents on. As a lot of people are even going further than just saying the government failed here, the government let us down, the government wasn't prepared for this, as individuals like Mel Gibson are even hinting at the larger possibility that all of this could have been engineered, could have been started, could have been provoked by some nefarious actors here. As on Fox News, this is what he had to say.
Well, I know they were messing with the water, letting reserves go for one reason or another. They've been doing that a while. California has a lot of problems that sort of baffle the mind as far as why they do things. And then in the events like this, you sort of look, well, is it on purpose? Which, it's an insane thing to think. But one begins to ponder whether or not there is a purpose in mind. What could it be, I don't know. Do they want the state empty? I don't know.
Well, Mel, there's already talk, and we played a couple of sound bites of reimagining the way rebuilding occurs. And obviously there's a great need for high-density housing in California and across the country. That's a big push by the climate folks. And you're already hearing rumblings of that. In this case, like, goodbye single-family homes, hello high-density housing.
Yeah. It's pretty scary, and it'll take decades to do that too. It's like even if it if it's a good idea, which I don't know if it is, but reminds me of the old cattle barons clearing people off the land, But I don't know. I can make all kinds of horrible theories up in my head, conspiracy theories and everything else, but it just seemed a little convenient that there was no water, and and that the wind conditions are right, and that there are people ready and willing and able to start fires. And are they commissioned to do so, or are they just acting on their own volition? I don't know. But they seem...
Yep, as a lot of people have those larger questions, as of course, clearly there's negligence here. But are there actors here decisively acting in a way to not just make these fires grow, not just to make them larger, but to create them as well? And I think with the way that the government has been acting, especially within the last 4 years, I think they're possible of doing any sorts of horrible atrocities that they could get away with. Now, is that what is happening here? Again, we have no empirical evidence. We have no proof of this at all. We have speculation. Why do we have so much speculation? Because we have such a horrible, mistrustful government that doesn't give a damn about its constituents here. As of course, now we have these theories about a smart city plot, a 15-minute UN Agenda 2030 city that, of course, could be now envisioned more than ever, especially after so many people lost their homes. Their property value has just gone down dramatically. Them being able to pull permits and actually rebuild is going to become astronomically difficult, as of course all the rules and regulations surrounding building homes, especially with the latest kind of environmental protection agency nonsense that people have to deal with in the state of California, is absolutely massive. But who can build? The state. And how will the state rebuild California? Well, as probably described by Mel Gibson and that Fox News reporter, that specifically will make it into a smart city. Now, was this a conspiracy all along? I don't know. What do you think? Let me know down in the comment section below. As of course, no proof again, no evidence, just speculation. But speculation based off a lot of inklings and history and past actions from governments that have done far less awful things in order to get their way. So take that with a grain of salt. Let me know what you think down in the description below. I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you guys, and this is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on youtube.com/wearechange. One day.
So I'm over here at the desk and I'm reading the chat, and Scott says something like, I wasn't unmuted. And I was like, well, I shouldn't be unmuted. And then I squinted and it said, Mike is unmuted, Rich, just FYI. Yeah. When I coughed at the desk, I thought to myself, I'm like, I'm so glad I'm muted right now. And it's not like I have to cough while we're live. And I guess I had not looked at the mute button. So mea culpa. I apologize, but I'm going to make it up to you guys in a second. How you doing, Scott?
Hey, good. I'm glad you owned up to it, because people would be like, that's probably Scott, amateur over there coughing while the freaking video's running. But no, dude, it's great. It's great. Adam Curry, the Podfather, he has apparently there's like an adapter.
Button.
You can.
It's button.
It's a foot pedal.
Yeah, I have.
It's really a foot.
I have
two
you
of
have
them.
One
of those?
Oh my
God.
I have one in the studio back there.
Dude.
I have one in here. I don't think it's hooked up right now. It's made by a company called Rolls, ROLLS, and you would find it on bnh.com, and they're like $70. But I saw Jones using it like 20 years ago. He had his on his desk, and he just hit it, and it just mutes it without making a big clicky noise, because some of them have clickies, right?
Dude.
So I was like, I need one of those. So I got one of those, and then when I expanded the studios, I don't know, 6 or 7 years ago, I got another one, but they wear out. Right. So I have to take a couple. I have like 3 or 4 of them by this point because they wear out. So again, usually I'm riding the mute button. But I was reading. Let me show you what I was reading while I was coughing over here.
Okay.
Smart City, LA, 2028. Published by the city of Los Angeles. The city of angels was thinking about you and your future back in December of 2020. So they create this document, and if we scroll a little bit into it, because I know it's like things like this you don't believe exist until you see it. It's a 54-page document. It has an introduction, it has their vision. I was looking for the part of how are you going to move the people out to do the smart city type stuff, right? Is that in the plan? Do they have a plan for moving the people, or do they have a plan for everything else except moving the people? And then you have to ask the question, what good is this plan if all these people are living in your way, if your railroads and all this other, your high-speed railway and these other things? So when you dig into it, smart cities are multifaceted and made up of several components, not just IT infrastructure. Smart cities are evolving, which requires both near-term and long-term goals that adhere to an overreaching set of smart city values. Smart cities require collaboration, like leaving your house when it's on fire. No, it doesn't say that. Where government and non-government entities work together to deliver the best in-class services to the public, just not hydrants with water. So when you get into their vision, they're like, oh, it's smart, and SpaceX, which has moved from California, I'm pretty sure, right? They're in Texas now, aren't they, Scott?
I think so. And
Taxes are too high.
Tesla too. I think his whole operation. Yeah.
Maybe. So maybe SpaceX is still in California, but Tesla, I thought he at least moved. All right. So they're talking about the Summer Olympics, right? They got 2028 Summer Olympics, Paralympics. They got all this stuff. They have to renovate airport and light rail airport connections and all this sort of stuff. So yeah, they're trying to make their city better. This is a good thing, right? Then this is one of the better parts. How technology makes us smarter. Now notice they have to put smarter in quotes because it doesn't mean smart like you mean smart. They're redefining what smart is. That's why they have to put quotes around the word smart. What makes a city smart? At the city of Los Angeles, we believe that a smart city is one that is efficiently and ethically uses secure technologies, data, and resources to improve quality of life and sustainability for all residents, businesses, and visitors. Efficient. Choose optimal multi-purpose solutions to maximize limited government resources. Okay. Ethical. I was like, wait a minute. Am I reading this right? Ethical. A government's going to tell me about ethical. Okay. Protect the city against racial or geographic inequities and negative social consequences for the public, e.g., privacy bias. Racial and geographic inequities will come up later when we cover the fire because DEI is a thing in this. Secure. Safeguard sensitive data and prevent unauthorized access by hackers, technology, data, and resources, quality of life, and sustainability. Fulfill expectations identified by our stakeholders, right? The people who live in Los Angeles, the residents, the companies that operate in Los Angeles, the businesses, and the tourists who visit Los Angeles, the visitors, including those with disabilities. In other words, the city of LA works to build a smarter, better Los Angeles for those who live, work, and play here. Okay, so they have the benefit of adding all this stuff to all Los Angelinos, okay? And then you get in, they're stronger together, equal rights for all, okay? And, you're hearing a lot of the woke kind of DEI, ESG terms as you go through this, because this was right before peak COVID. This is when COVID was being released. They had just run Event 201 at the same time they're drawing up this document and releasing it. Components of a digital and connected Los Angeles. Smart city infrastructure. So they're going to put a whole bunch of infrastructure in. Smart city data, tools, and practices, because they're going to be using AI to process all your stuff on the social credit score. Smart city digital services and applications. That's probably going to mean some robots, applications, not people you're dealing with anymore. Smart city connectivity and digital inclusion, right? You got to be digitally inclusive. And then they have governance, which if you like the governance now, wait till you get to the smart city governance in California. Now they talk about infrastructure, the physical technology used to deliver these smart services, right? 5G, fiber, etc. A lot of this involves digging up things, moving things, right? And, maybe people are living in the way of some of this stuff. I don't think the details of the exact areas and neighborhoods that they're looking to do this in are in this report. But if you dug a little bit further past this report, they might actually have, here's the plans and blueprints, because Gavin Newsom has been looking forward to building high rises in the Palisades Hills for quite some time, but the fire just happened this past week. So anyway, you got reduction in travel time. You're going to have a bunch of people who don't have cars and they have to use public transit. There's more infrastructure, Green New Deal builds smart sustainability. These are all code words for technocracy, for not freedom, for AI mishaps with your cryptography and your privacy and your security. Now, they get down to strategic challenges. And I thought maybe this would have some of the people in the way of their plan, the places where nail houses type of pop up because they resist the plan and maybe they keep their house amidst the new smart city. The lack of smart situational awareness. So they have to have more situational awareness. They have a need for next generation capabilities. They need to expand past their previous smart city infrastructure investments and deploy entirely new next generation infrastructure to support these emerging demands. This, again, is all preparation for the Olympics. They have to put in a lot of new stuff over there, okay? More strategic challenges. I did not see moving the people, but we got to a timeline. So I was like, okay, maybe they're going to move the people at some point and they can do their thing. So 2020, they come up with a plan. They start doing fiber optic build out, right? They might have some eminent domain. They're putting all these EV chargers in, but we get to 2025, they don't have anything planned. They're just like, yeah, we're going to do some sensors across LA, and they're going to build a platform through the public-private partnership, which is code for the World Economic Forum, right? Which says you'll own nothing and like it. So while the terms are in here about everything else that they're doing, there's no terminology or timeline for the people in the way of this plan. In fact, people don't seem to be much of a plan in this plan. But you're going to see office of the mayor and other people who are responsible, public works and sanitation, water department, things that are going on in this fire that we're going to look into and say, how did these people qualify to get their positions? They're kind of the ones driving a document like this in the first place, they and their supporters. So it's dry and not the smoking gun that you might hope for in these types of situations. But when they point to doing so much by a date in 2028 in order to have the Olympics there and to do all these things, it is important to ask along that way, how do they remove the impediments of other people not wanting to go along with the plan? Maybe they don't want to move from their neighborhood so you can build the sky rise, right? So as we get into the fire story in the second half of tonight's episode, if you want to look this document up, let me go back to the top so you can see it, and read along at some point. Smart technology for a better Los Angeles, Smart LA 2028, and it should readily pop up in whatever search engine you're using for, because the news is too new to be censored on this. And with that, we can get into tonight's festivities. All right, so in this coming up media block, we have got some of the greatest hits from this past week on Fox News. No, I'm just kidding, but two of these clips do, because I just want to show you the former presidents at Jimmy Carter's his funeral this past week, and then a translation of what might have been said between Obama and Trump. And then also CNN erupts in their newsroom about January 6th, and the host says to zip it, and then Trump got sentenced. We'll get those stories in before we get into the things we have to do deeper dives on. And with that, let's get started.
Estranged between Trump and Pence there, but you know, acting cordial, acting polite, shaking hands. Obama with Pence now, and former Vice President Al Gore there. So, like I said, Stephanie, we don't see these scenes very often. We'll see whether or not former President Obama and President-elect Trump are cordial and shake hands. They're seated right next to each other. A very, very frosty relationship.
Andrew, I was
between the two, nonetheless.
And we do see them actually exchanging some conversation right there as they are seated next to one another. But it's interesting, and we've spoken about this, in times such as this, it brings people together on a human level. You can disagree with politics, but you set that aside to honor the person. And there is George W. Bush right there shaking hands and saying hello with Laura Bush there as well. So we are seeing, of course, a number of former presidents seated together, being cordial, as you said. But again, this is not a day or time to focus on the political nature, but perhaps more of the human nature. And we saw that with former President Jimmy Carter. He didn't necessarily agree politically with certain individuals, but looking beyond that to perhaps that human foundation that we all share.
Yeah, I just have to note for the American history buffs watching, you saw there the interaction between Al Gore and George W. Bush, of course, in that very heated election of 2000, Stephanie. Bush beating Gore by about 500 votes in a Supreme Court decision in Florida. Everyone is acting cordial. That is what American politics, when it is civil, is all about. You see the Clintons now in the front row. And so we're really seeing one or two generations of American politics, all gathered in the same space, all gathered in the same room. It is truly remarkable, Stephanie, and you know, it's not morbid to say this, that funerals like this are really the only places we get to see this, other than inaugurations. Yes, inaugurations happen every 4 years, and you see there the Clintons,
Andrew,
the Bushes.
I have to ask you this. You know,
Looks
one
like
of our producers,
former First Lady Michelle Obama not in attendance.
And that's what I was going to ask
sure
you
why
about,
there,
Andrew.
and then the Trumps there.
Yes, that was what I was going to ask you about. One of our producers, Tania, did also note the absence of Michelle Obama right there, not seated next to her husband, former President Barack Obama. Is that something that we were expecting, or perhaps this is not? Is this a surprise or not a surprise? I think people might be a little surprised not to see her there next to her husband.
Yeah, we'll have to see if there's any reporting on it kind of after the fact. It could just be, you know, a scheduling conflict. But this was not reported kind of going into the funeral. So we'll have to kind of check our sources there to see, you know, what might explain the absence. But yeah, maybe we shouldn't look too much into that fact, though. And you see there, it looks like things are about to get underway. But it does look like the dignitaries are seated now in the front row. And then the family, of course, will
Andrew, I have a
be
question
seated,
for you.
and then the eulogizers will be seated there in those empty seats. We're still waiting for President Biden and the First Lady.
Andrew, I do have a question as we do await the service to get underway momentarily. How does one determine the seating? Do you know that? I mean, we see that certain former presidents are seated next to other presidents, but how does the seating chart work when it comes to a funeral service such as this? I think that's something perhaps we may not know, but I think, you know, our viewers might be curious. Is there a strategy to it? Is there a tradition behind it?
There's a strategy behind it. You can kind of tell now it goes kind of in descending order. The vice president there, the second gentleman, walking into the cathedral. So the highest ranking dignitaries sit up front and lower ranking dignitaries kind of file in there after. You see former vice presidents seated behind former presidents and kind of thereon and going on. So that's kind of the strategy, so to speak. Somewhat self-explanatory because you see in descending order Trump, Obama, Bush, Clinton, and the like. And so you see the vice president there, Harris, and the second gentleman. And just, you know, kind of think about this, the electoral acknowledgement of the 2024 election. Harris and Trump, I believe, possibly the first time they are in the same room since Harris's election loss and Trump's election victory. You know, politics is very passionate. It's very raw. But to your point, Stephanie, in moments like this, tempers are put aside for at least a couple of hours to come together to show kind of a bipartisan front of unity, saying goodbye to former leaders like this. But no doubt, these are scenes, like I said, I'm going to repeat myself and reiterate that we just do not get very often here. The election was just now about 2 months ago. The inauguration coming up in 11 days. The Biden-Harris administration winding down, and the closing of one chapter, the opening of another. I just want to reiterate and repeat that. And that's what we're seeing on full display. Yes, the tributes, the celebrations, the mourning, but also just kind of the sheer underbelly and undertone of politics as well today.
Well, Mr. President.
For a second time. Barack, very nice to see you.
Congratulations. So how you doing?
I'm a lot better now.
Yeah, I bet. Knew you'd win.
Oh, really? Oh, come on. Anyone could beat her.
She's just... I was just as appalled. You know what happened? He just didn't want to leave.
I know.
Is what happened. I did what I could to help her. She was horrendous.
I know. You know what I realized? Hillary still hates me. So much. I know. She'll never forget me. We should meet to discuss
I
things.
think so too. We can definitely set something up. Let me know whatever
Oh, we
works
got?
best for you.
I was gonna fly back to Florida tomorrow for the Gulf.
Okay. Did you see that? She won't even look at me.
Really? I was told some of her people. Apparently they said she fell off the wagon.
I think she actually may have. Sure. And also, she's not really built for this. Amount pressure, if you're not built for it, will do it.
This is why CNN's dead. Because instead of having an honest conversation about what's really going on, they just keep bringing on people who lie. And then you get this from Mediaite. Zip it. CNN's Kate Bolden, I don't know how to say her name, and Scott Jennings go at it in heated debate over a January 6th. Well, it's more than that. In this clip, they basically have some dude lying. Scott Jennings calls him out. The dude continues to lie, and they act like it's a both sides thing. It's amazing. So obviously the debate starts with, January 6th was bad. Today's January 6th. Donald Trump, he's bad. And Scott Jennings says, look, a lot of people called out Trump and said January 6th was bad. But I mean, what happened that day? Everything, the machine kept turning. Then you get this other dude who comes out and he's like, Donald Trump's inheriting the best economy. There's no troops anywhere in combat zones. Just pushing these lies over and over again. And Scott Jennings points out accurately, this was the argument that was made before the election. It's an argument that failed. So what are we still doing here? But this is what CNN does. They think we're going to play this game where it's like, we'll just keep lying to people because that's what both sides mean. I'm going to say it for you again because I've said it before. The only difference between left and right in this country is whether you know what's really going on or you don't. So I'll throw it back to that viral clip when we had that young Luke Beasley on the show. And we were arguing about left committing more violence or right committing more violence. And the problem with it is that left and right doesn't mean anything. They say the right wing is more prone to violence. But you're literally just saying anyone who doesn't agree with leftist social orthodoxy is right wing. You're lumping in anarcho-capitalists who want to live in Chihuahua, Mexico, with no government, to a white nationalist, neo-Nazi type guy who wants to create an ethno-state. They're not different things they're completely different things. They're not the same in the least bit. That's the problem. So when you look at what CNN is doing, they're basically saying, well, if we're going to have the left and the right, we need one liar and one honest guy. Hence, you get this, zip it. Yelling at it wasn't so contentious. It's not the craziest thing, but Scott's correct. And there are people who live in this false reality. We have troops in combat zones. We had an American soldier, I believe, as Scott Jennings points out, lose his life in Gaza, which is a combat zone. And they lie. Well, my friends, let's roll tape. Before we do, my friends, head over to castbrew.com to pick up some delicious Cast Brew coffee. Look at that. We got 2 weeks till Christmas, 2 weeks till Christmas, despite the fact it's now 2 weeks from Christmas. But that's Phil Labonte as Santa Claus singing. Everybody loves Appalachian Nights, but also stand your grounds. And the big announcement, check it out. Let's play the clip, and you can see it for yourself. Let's roll.
In a sense, is it how we got here? Is interesting, and you can see the evolution. You can play all the sound bites from the days after when you heard Republicans blaming Donald Trump, some being short of saying he should be impeached, saying he should be held accountable. And 4 years later, we are here. It is a stunning political comeback attributed to how Trump played it afterward, how Democrats played it afterward, or something else?
Well, I think it's some mixture of everything. But to me, the big message is that in the United States, the people decide. And because of the disastrous 4 years that came after Donald Trump, the people decided to return Donald Trump to power.
Indeed.
And that's fundamentally what happened. They looked at what happened on January the 6th. They looked at all the things Democrats claimed about Donald Trump. And they also analyzed every single decision that Joe Biden and Kamala Harris made. And they delivered Donald Trump a convincing victory 4 years later.
It is tough, though, Scott, because when you say the people decide, that's what people tried to make sure didn't happen on January 6th, was allowing the people to decide.
So what, lady? So what? You know what this is? She's making this comment for the sake of appearing impartial, but it has no bearing on what Scott just said. Everybody saw January 6th. Whatever you think about it. 4 years later, they said, yeah, we want Donald Trump to be president.
And the machinery turned. It was a terrible...
The lack of acknowledgement of how bad it was in the aftermath.
I mean, I think a great many people have acknowledged it, but also what happened that day. The machinery turned. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden became the president.
Yeah, and Scott's right, but my response there would have just been, lady, it was a bad day. But you want people to come out and scream and cry over something that happened several years ago, which they clearly do not care about. I give you this, Kate. You keep saying acknowledge these things. We did. It was called an election, and Donald Trump won. That should say everything to you. So, Scott, I understand he doesn't want to go down that same road as Ryan did. And so he's like, yes, okay, we acknowledge. No, I reject this. Look, first of all, I got no problem saying rioting is bad. But I'm going to say this. Clearly, the American people don't think it was. So you sit here behind your desk on your high horse and say, why won't you acknowledge how bad it was? Well, I got to be honest, lady. Not only do I think it was not nearly that bad, it was bad. We don't want it to happen again. You fight a cop, you go to jail, fine. But the American people also disagree with you, so who are you talking to? You see, why won't they acknowledge it? We all showed up on Election Day and acknowledged it. And the result was, we do not care. Thank you.
He had one of the worst terms of any U.S. president, and then the people scrambled back to Donald Trump. That is the history of what happened.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I look at today.
That looked like a jump cut, by the way, but anyway.
Donald Trump is inheriting one of the best economies that a president has inherited in a very long period of time. If you look at the fact that something like net migration at the border is lower than it was even before Donald Trump took office.
They just lie. They just lie. It is insane to me. Ladies and gentlemen, let me just pull this up for you. The state where the price of eggs has increased a whopping $10 days after California's $9 surge. The photos and videos are going viral of egg shortages and the cost of eggs. These signs warning that there is a massive shortage. What they're doing is they're saying, we've created this macro scale to determine whether or not the economy is good. And we as the experts say the economy is good, despite the fact the economy is not good. That's why Trump won. Economics and migration, top issue. And Gallup once again predicted, inadvertently, it's not a direct prediction. Gallup has this poll where they say, what do you think is the biggest issue? Then they ask, who do you think does a better job on that issue? They don't ask who's going to win, but since I think 1952 or whatever, they have accurately predicted, based on this, who's going to win. Because the party that addresses the biggest issue tends to win, or it's won every single time. They said immigration and the economy. And this guy has the nerve to go on CNN and say the lowest migration and the best economy. We saw during Biden's presidency what some are calling the largest migration in human history, 15 million people. Tremendous. And how are we going to reverse that?
You want to look at the stock market. You're looking at the stock market rising.
Look at the stock market.
Immigration is under control.
This is the first time.
The border needs to be secured further, and this number can be accurate.
This is the first time in dozens of years that a president has actually inherited a government where we don't have soldiers overseas in active combat zones. So
that is a lie, a tremendous lie.
Actually, look at where we are. We actually, or he is actually inheriting a government right now that is much better than any predecessor he's had before.
Okay. I mean, I recognize that was the argument that was made during the election, and I would also like to recognize that the American people soundly rejected that argument. We do have American troops in forward locations all over the world.
Not in combat zones.
But they are in hot spots. I mean,
but not in combat zones.
We just had an American soldier die not too long ago.
This guy is evil. He is evil. I mean, you know what I love about this show? I can just Google it. But this is what they're relying on. They're relying on that you don't. DOD announces 2,000 troops in Syria. Department prepared for government shutdown. This is December 19th, 2024. They said the Defense Department today announced that there are approximately 2,000 U.S. troops deployed to Syria. Do you have any idea what's going on in Syria right now? You know what's really messed up is that I know people who are doing work in and around Syria. Yeah, friends of friends, things like that. The idea that this guy's going to go on TV and just lie. That's what they do. That's what they do.
Middle East,
correct, and they're protecting our freedom every day.
Trying to fix Joe Biden's $300 million public relations peer for Gaza. I mean, the reality is migration was a disaster. Immigration was a disaster for 3.5 years, and they tried to window dress it for the last 6 months. Inflation was a disaster for all 4 years. The economy is not working for most people. That's why Democrats lost the election, and that's why they're going back to Trump.
Democrats lost the election. Nobody's arguing that. I mean, that's what the argument was 4 years ago when Donald Trump was filing lawsuits and they were raiding the White House. What we are saying, though, is that prices are going down. What I am saying is murder rates. They actually are going down.
Inflation is still
plateaued.
Oh, it's plateaued. I'm sick of it, man. This is the point. This is the game. Now, CNN, you know, I mentioned, like, why do we even talk about them? You know, their ratings are in the gutter. They do have some ratings on YouTube. I'll give them that, but it's a fair point. The reason why their ratings are in the gutter, and the reason why nobody watches, and the reason why the only reason, you've probably heard about this, me, the reason why they're failing is because they lie.
Welcome back here on Live Now from Fox. We are going to pause for a moment on our coverage of the California wildfires to bring you this breaking news. President-elect Donald Trump has been sentenced to an unconditional discharge in relation to his hush money case. Here's the latest of what we know breaking right now. President-elect Donald Trump formally sentenced today, moments ago, in that case, but the judge declined to impose any punishment. The outcome cements Trump's conviction while freeing him to return to the White House unencumbered by the threat of a jail term or a fine. And again, Trump was charged with 34 felonies. He was put on trial for almost 2 months and convicted on every count. Yet the legal detour didn't hurt him, with voters who elected him to a second term. So moments ago, Manhattan Judge Juan Merchan, he could have sentenced Trump to 4 years in prison, but instead he chose a sentence that sidestepped constitutional issues by effectively ending the case, but assuring that Trump will become the first person convicted of a felony to assume the presidency. Trump has said his criminal trial and conviction has, quote, been a very terrible experience, and insisted he committed no crime as he appeared virtually moments ago to be sentenced. Again, if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox for this breaking news update, we do know that Manhattan Judge Juan Merchan, he has sentenced President-elect Donald Trump to unconditional discharge, and Fox News is reporting what that means. That means no prison, no probation, no conditions for President-elect Donald Trump. He is now set to return to the White House unencumbered by the threat of a jail term or a fine. So again, if you are just joining us here on Live Now from Fox, that is the latest of what we know with all of this breaking as of right now. And again, we have not heard from President-elect Donald Trump after this just came out here. But again, what we did know after he appeared virtually moments ago in court, he said that it has, quote, been a very terrible experience, and once again insisting he committed no crime in all of this. So we'll bring you the latest here on Live Now from Fox if we do hear anything else. But as of right now, we are going to pivot back to our Fox LA coverage of the ongoing.
All right, good. Pull it, because we didn't get to that story yet. It didn't happen yet in the chronology. So Trump, no jail, no conditions, no diggity. He's off the hook. I guess he gets to be president, and we'll see what happens. I don't know. It's still like 10 days away, so don't count your Trumplandia before it hatches, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, we sign off last week. I mean, pretty much every week we sign off. We're like, well, we'll see what they pull this week. You know what I mean? And it's every single week. It's like, well, they didn't disappoint. And here we are once again, like, goodness gracious. And like, this is like we're coming up on the landing. I was saying like the election, right? The election back in November. I was like, okay, here's the season finale of New World Order, right? It's like, wow, the season's already over already again. Like, whoa, dude, this coming week,
this year on
probably
planet
gonna be,
Earth.
yeah, this week is gonna be something else, I bet, once again, because like they got the big inauguration a week from tomorrow. Like, what? What? I'm just enjoying it. I mean, this is fascinating. It's quite the spectacle. I'm enjoying
It is
every second.
alleged that he has 100+ executive orders ready to go for day one, and of course, he's got all the pardons that he's going to dish out over the first week or so, and he's got to do his inauguration. And he's got to move his stuff into the place again and bring in his gold toilet and all the stuff that.
Yeah, you know what's really interesting too?
He has to replace the White House kitchen with a McDonald's. There's a lot of things that have to be done before he can get it set up in the office.
Exactly.
That has to go on. Like, unless the White House chef used to work at McDonald's, I'm pretty sure like he's like, okay, look, we're gonna refurb this place. We're gonna repurpose. It's just gonna be a delivery bay for his bags of McDonald's. And he seems to get a lot of other people who meet with him to eat the McDonald's too. So
I mean, he's got to have some entanglement with McDonald's. I swear,
he's not giving it up. That's why McDonald's had to give up the DEI. We're going to cover that soon. In fact,
I've had overwhelming cravings for McDonald's French fries these last few months, but I am happy to admit that I have not caved in. I have not spent a cent at McDonald's these last few months, despite the immense propaganda being dished on. I will say, man,
look, as long as when you eat the fries, you don't think they're potatoes.
It's been very tempting.
A couple times a year, you have to test out your body, like clean it out and whatever, like trigger, give it some complexity. You know what I'm saying? If you're eating just wholesome food all the time, every now and then, plants need wind in order to have strong roots. So every now and then you got to test, like it's like an immune system test, right? Like here's a little toxin. Oh, your body handled it and you're fine. Okay. That's one thing. You blew up like a balloon. That's another thing,
You know what mine is? I'll just give this right here. Sunday nights.
What do you got?
Bang energy drinks.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, there you go. Sunday nights.
Well,
That's how I challenge it.
Sunday nights. Sunday night's pretty early right now. So to keep moving forward, in this block, we have 2 burger stories, 2 thought stories, and what's the other one? Wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah, there's 2 thoughts and 2 burger stories, but there's only 3 clips. Now, you don't know what a thought is? Glad you asked. Not to be confused with the Egyptian god Thoth or Thoth, right? Thought, it's a derogatory term, okay? In this derogatory term, the term thought is a denigrative term. It's a slang term that originated in the Chicago drill music community and was popularized by rappers like Katie Got Bands and Chief Keef. It is often used as a synonym for hoe or slut, especially in the context of trap music or modern rap. The acronym stands for that hoe over there, though it is now commonly used without its original meaning. So it has effectively replaced a whole phrase. That hoe over there is, there's actually 2 hoes over there in this block. So
thought crimes, baby.
These are thought crimes. So the one chick, she goes into the Five Guys and dude's not down with the offer. And then she tries so hard, it's sad. And then the other thought crime was this Hooters. I had to stop watching it because I felt bad. But like the way Jeremy set it up, like I thought maybe like there was going to be something substantial. But what you just see is a Hooters girl that did too many shots, and she's trying to get out of the ticket with the officer, and she has no clue what's going on. Like she was sleeping at the wheel when the cops roll up. So these 2 pieces of news are miscellaneous, and they need to be dealt with before we can get to these other serious and in-depth investigative stories. So let's go to this block, and then we'll be right back to Pivot.
Hi, welcome to Chocolate. May I chocolate your chocolate? Chocolate.
That's right. We've ditched the DEI. We're just going to be racist instead. McDonald's. Do. Please note, McDonald's is not racist.
What is going on, everybody? Hope you're having an absolutely wonderful day. Massive news. DEI is toast. I mean, we saw Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg, basically saying, no more woke stuff on Facebook. We're going to move out of California. We're going to stop censoring people. Now McDonald's, after having a brutal year, has decided to get out in front of an impending investigation, it looks like, from Robbie Starbuck. And they have decided, yeah, we're not going to do woke anymore. Absolutely massive win. Let's take a look at some of the stuff they did. By the way, just a quick reminder, I'm live every day at 1 Eastern. You don't have to watch it live because you can always watch it later. But if you're available at 1 Eastern to 3 Eastern, I prefer people watch, but I know that takes time. So I just prefer that you tune in. Now let's go to Robbie Starbuck for his update.
All right, everybody, I got good news for you. We got another one. You know what time it is. We've got a new company flipping their position on DEI, and that company is McDonald's. Now, let me tell you how this happened and what the details are. I've just got to give X a shout out here because I actually reached out to McDonald's on X to their senior marketing director on Friday. You can see here. So Friday, I sent them a detailed message. I'm not going to show the whole thing here, but a detailed message about DEI. I mean, you can read this part, no problem. And that was Friday. So director on Friday, you can see here. So Friday, I sent them a detailed message. I'm not going to show the whole thing here, but a detailed message about DEI. I mean, you can.
So you're right. I'd like to discuss McDonald's DEI policies. We're considering doing a story on them. And as a courtesy, we'd like to check if the company is considering a change to the policy to embrace corporate neutrality on divisive issues like DEI. So are their changes being considered? We love when our stories shift to change stories. You may be familiar with my investigative pieces as they've resulted in an end to woke/DEI policies that over $2 trillion worth of brands like Walmart, Harley-Davidson, Lowe's, Toyota, Ford, Jack Daniels, Tractor Supply, etc. I mean, whoa. I'm happy to schedule off-the-record conversations. So he's basically saying, great business there. Sure would be a shame if something happened to it.
Read this part, no problem. And that was Friday, so 3 days ago. And today, this statement came out. There's more to this message, but for the sake of your time, we're going to jump ahead past a lot of the corporate word salad and go straight into what they're changing. So let me go and translate this corporate speak for you. First bullet point, we are retiring setting aspirational representation goals. And then it's blah, blah, blah corporate speak. Let me translate what that means. McDonald's, like many Fortune 500 companies, they had what they would call targets or goals. In reality, they work like racial quotas, but they say these are certainly not quotas. Don't call them that. This is just a goal for them to hire, say, 50% people of color, whatever it might be, into a certain position. And then wouldn't you know it, they hire just the amount that they put, but it's not a quota. Don't call it a quota. Second bullet point, and always one of my favorites, we are pausing external surveys to focus on the work we are doing internally. AKA, we are leaving the HRC's Corporate Equality Index social credit scoring system. Keep in mind, this was a company that had a perfect HRC CEI score, and that HRC CEI scoring system is how woke policies get forced into workplaces. So they are, again, the latest company to leave that scoring system, and that is good news. And now bullet point number.
By the way, Robbie and his work, has basically destroyed the HRC as well. Like, I think that that's also worth pointing out. Like, the HRC, which is this organization that pushes this stuff, basically has no clients left. All these big companies that were, embracing it, I don't know how you pay them for consulting or something like that. They're gone now.
Number 3, one of my favorites, they are going to be retiring their supply chain's DEI pledge in favor of a system that relates to business performance. Imagine that, a merit-based system. This is what every company needs to be doing. The days of favoring one group of people over another based on diversity need to be gone. Bullet point number 4 here is one I'm not particularly a fan of, and I'm not happy with when companies do this. They are evolving how they refer to their diversity team.
That means they're just going to call it something else.
will now be the global inclusion team. I think it's ridiculous. We don't need these teams, okay? It is a job. It is a workplace. You go there to work. People don't need a team assigned at corporate to making sure everybody feels included, okay? We're not kindergartners. We're adults. It's a workplace. It's a place people go to shop. Just provide great service, be kind, do the right thing, be fair. And if you're a company executive, you know, lay down the hammer when somebody breaks the law. Everybody's all for that. But there's no need for DEI teams at all. No need for a diversity team. I don't care what you call it. People have had enough of this, and I think it's time that everybody speaks up and that we get rid of this infantile way of operating businesses. Focus on the bottom line, make money, do a great job. Everybody's happy then, and that is the direction corporate America is veering toward, is corporate neutrality. We are the trend now. Don't forget that. Because we have raised our voices, so many companies, over $2 trillion of companies have changed their policies, and we will not stop until we make corporate America sane again. So is this perfect? No.
Sure.
But you know what? McDonald's wasn't one of the worst to begin with, but they were on our list of companies, and there are many companies that we aim to change. And we got more done today changing policy than anybody else has. So I'm very proud. In fact, I have to say, I'm loving it. And you guys know I was gonna have
you had to do it.
Okay, I had to use that line at least one time. So.
By the way, I love the work that Robbie does. He texted me this yesterday, and for some reason I completely didn't get to it. But this is wild.
Do not judge me because it was too easy. I'm loving it, okay? I'm loving changing these crazy policies. And for those of you who are new to watching my videos, you might be wondering, what is corporate neutrality? And it's very simple. Companies need to stay out of divisive issues. Unless it's related directly to the regulation of their business, they should not be involved in politics. We don't want to know what Macy's thinks about trans rights, okay? Right. And you know what? If they want to speak up and talk about it, we don't want to spend our money there. We have a right as customers to know how the money's being spent later, and then we can decide if we want to give our money to that company. And in many cases now, we are waking up and saying, no, we don't want to give our money to this company.
You know, I should point out, it's not even about whether or not I agree with their takes, you know, because that's just not it. I just don't want to hear it. Like, literally sell me the bacon or whatever the case is. I don't want to hear anything about what your opinions are about anything political. Nobody does. You see this in the Daily Mail. 4 years after launching a push for more diversity in its ranks, McDonald's is now ending some of its diversity practices following a U.S. Supreme Court decision that outlawed affirmative action in college admissions. McDonald's, it's not affirmative action, it's just anti-white. That's the reality of it. There's no such thing as affirmative action in modern day. Maybe this was a program that started out with good intentions, but what do they say about the pathway to hell? You know, like that's just the reality of it. McDonald's message to its franchise owners said the company remains committed to inclusion, but would like to embed inclusion practices in its operations. I mean, again, what does that even mean?
You've heard of the bang 1,000 dudes in a single day girl, Lily Phillips. Well, her mate, fellow OnlyFans star, Bonnie Blue.
We want to do a big scene. Yeah, you all come in? You all got ID with you? Yeah. Okay, come on then.
Yeah, her. Didn't quite get the reception she was expecting when she walked into a Five Guys burger restaurant and said this.
I just wondered, I can't see it on the menu, but where do I get the Five Guys from? The Five Guys.
She really thought this would go down as a hilarious viral prank. Didn't quite turn out that way.
I didn't know if it was like a special room where you can take me out back.
No, I don't think that's happening. Big on thought.
What about after your shift? I mean, I'd want to give you, a good rating.
I'm a Christian man and I'm with seeing myself.
Oof, rejected.
I'm asking for what's on the menu, that's all.
Give it a rest, love. You're embarrassing.
I can hand you a menu if you want.
Are you on it?
No, I'm not.
Oh, that's a shame.
Her brain saturated by the delusion that all men are pathetic Kuma simps simply cannot process the fact that he possesses a moral compass and isn't interested. With some accusing her of harassment, the Five Guys Christian Chad posted the video on X himself, remarking, Bonnie Blue recording me at work was not on my bingo card for this year, but here we are, I guess. When urged to sue her, he responded that he was broke and couldn't afford to. I'm sure we can get a crowdfund going. Some question how this would have gone down if it had been a man approaching a woman. Apparently sexual harassment's okay, so long as it's the other way round. Others praised him for his dignity, class and self-respect. Something that to Bonnie Blue and her ilk is like holding up a cross to a vampire.
What's on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and boy, everyone sure does love a good, entitled woman gets wrecked tale, right? Entitlement and it's gotten so crazy with a lot of people. By the way, not just women, people in general. In this particular case, women, it's got women thinking being an OF content producer, it means they're a creator and not just a whore. This is perhaps one of the most hilarious interactions where a woman who works at Hooters, by the way, a rare good-looking girl that worked at Hooters, all the people that worked there that I knew of, if I'd ever been to one, weren't nothing to really write home about. This individual got a big old case of F around and find out, and it all got caught on camera. If you enjoy it, I'm just trying to lighten the mood a little bit. If you do, make sure to leave a like on this video. If you haven't yet, please do subscribe or follow the channel. Make sure notifications are on. There's something crazy going on with my channel right now I'm trying to figure out, but definitely appreciate you tuning in. So here we have the individual that worked there, and zoinks, definitely a good-looking individual. However, we have some sweet, hilarious footage that I wanted to share with you that isn't so zoinks. An employee of Hooters who was pulled over for DUI was caught on body cam footage trying to flirt and flash her way out of a traffic stop. Sophia Ross of Sarasota was pulled over for a traffic stop on November 17th after another driver called 911 to report the waitress hitting several curbs and stopping at green lights. Look, we've all made, well, I shouldn't say we've all, many people, including myself, have made poor decisions. Maybe you had, you should have waited a little bit, should have had something to eat. You got behind the wheel, this, that, and the other thing. Where I live, it doesn't take much to be over the limit. All it takes is like 2 beers. I definitely driven after more than 2 beers. I don't do it anymore. But when I was younger, I made bad decisions. I don't think I ever stopped at a green light or was bouncing off of curbs. I'd say at that point, this individual is beyond, taking a little bit of risk. The witness then followed the car before pulling up to the car where he had, where it appeared that the driver was sleeping. When officers with Sarasota Police Department arrived at the scene, they located Ross, who still appeared to be sleeping, before she simply woke up and started to drive towards the police car and then hit it. The officers then approached her car and proceeded to put the vehicle in park as she was moving slow and acting lethargic before trying to charm one of the officers, who she repeatedly called Daddy in the now viral footage obtained by WFTV. When asked to perform a sobriety test, Ross, we're going to look at the footage, of course, who's alleged, this is crazy. The alleged blood alcohol level was 0.318. That's extremely high. That's hard to believe. Wouldn't you be dead? That means your blood out. It can't be 0.318. 0.08 is like blood alcohol concentration of 300 milligrams or higher can cause a person to become unconscious, experience heavy breathing. Other symptoms include being incoherent, confused speech, memory loss, and vomiting. So you're blacked out. If you're at 0.3, you're very, 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 0.3 is an extremely high level. Let's see actually how this breaks down. 0.3 to 0.39. This is dangerously high blood alcohol content. Your potential for death increases, as does your heart rate and likelihood of unconsciousness, which they clearly were. You may experience irregular breathing, loss of bladder control. Anything over 0.4 says your heart or breathing might stop. A coma or death by rest. This person was obliterated. Now, I do fashion myself quite the drinker. I'm not quite sure I've ever achieved levels this high. After Ross asked where she was coming from, the one officer appeared to burp, saying he was drinking a fizzy drink. Oh, what are you drinking? She asked, slurring her words and hanging onto her car. After the cop told her he drank a Celsius energy drink, he and his partner walked Ross across the street as she stumbled to attempt to hold onto the street pole. Hey, you were drinking a fizzy drink. You were drinking a fizzy drink. Are you going to try me? She asked the officer. Oh, my God. Ross then refused to participate in the DUI test, saying, I am literally drinking and I'm not going to drive, despite being stopped by police for driving. But you were already driving. That's the problem, the officer said. I was not, she quickly replied. She then suggests that the officers did not stop her in the middle of the road, even when cops pointed to the cars in the middle of the road. Where do you think you are right now? The officer asked. I'm in Gulf Gate, she responded. No, you're miles from that. She continued to protest and appeared to put her hands together and make pew-pew fingers pointing at cops. Ross and the officers soon moved to the other side of the street. So then one of the officers then told his partner to turn off the lights on the car while he tried to get Ross to complete. As he did so, the 22-year-old told him, we're going to make out. As the officer quickly replied, no, we're not. The officer, who tried to best remain professional, was occasionally heard chuckling as Ross continued on with her flirtatious comments. You want to try and do this exercise for me? The officer asked. She referred to him as Daddy and said that she would do anything for him. Oh, my God. Ross then apologized before walking close to the officer, saying, dude, why are you drunk testing me? I know I'm drunk. Why are you doing this to me? She then told, I literally, what? What? Unfortunately, you're going to have to. Is this your phone number? She asked. The cop asked. Nope, it's blank. Ross then begged the officer to write down his partner's phone number on a piece of paper. They then informed her that she was being recorded, and she said she didn't care. You're the one taking me home, right? Ross asked to the officers before adding, I want you. I mean, she's a good-looking lady, but first of all, when a girl's that drunk, you shouldn't be engaging in literally anything with them because, you know, the way that laws will be, not favorable to you, which should she wake up the next day and suddenly regret it. She then revealed her Hooters tank top under her shirt and moved her chest towards the camera. Seeing this? I'm wearing contacts. The officer quickly warned her that the footage is public record, but Ross didn't care. Anybody can see that. Mom, dad, grandma, family. I just want you to. Oh, my God. I mean, this was not great. Let's take a little bit of the highlights here.
I have to pee really bad.
Oh, yeah. I've been there.
You're going to have to hang out, unfortunately. There's no place to
Yeah,
pee
okay.
right now. That's not what happened.
He drove it over here for me.
Uh-huh.
We physically saw you driving.
I was not driving.
I got to give her credit. This is an incredible, like, Jedi mind trick she's trying to do. I was not driving. Look at my boobs. I was not driving the car. You were driving the car.
I was Dave.
Here, we're going to come on over here,
Dave,
Sophia.
Hey, Dave, we're going to make out. We're going to turn off lights here. Hey, Dave. We're going to make out here.
Okay.
We're going to make out here.
No, we are not. Here,
Turn off the lights.
stop right there.
Turn off the lights. We're going to make out.
Wait, stay right there.
She's literally going for it. I can't believe it.
I got to pee, bro.
I know.
I
have to pee as well.
Bro. I got to pee.
She's going to probably...
I want to give
You know I'm drunk. Are you going to tase me?
No, just hold on.
Are you going to tase me?
She's still trying to flirt with him.
Are you going to tase me? Get the hell in.
1930.
Can't keep my hands off him. Sorry.
Unfortunately, you're gonna have to.
I can't, bro. I can't.
I'll give you this to hold on.
This would be more hilarious if she wasn't driving, but
Citation, it's something that.
Bro?
So you don't have to touch
Is this your phone number? Is this your phone number?
Nope, it's blank.
Hey, put his phone number on this. Please. Please. You're the one's taking me home, right?
I mean,
You're taking me home.
sure, he said.
I want you.
Okay.
I want you.
Okay.
You're taking me home, right?
Yep.
You are taking me home. Say you did.
Okay. Now
I'll
before
put
we
my hand on
start.
my hip.
No, I was grabbing my flashlight.
Oh, whatever you want, Daddy.
What the heck?
I am wearing contacts. Wait, you see this? I am wearing contacts.
Oh, she's like trying to flash
I
him.
am wearing contacts. I am wearing contacts.
This is pretty legendary. If she's wearing a Hooters uniform, if she was wearing Hooters uniform? If she was wearing a uniform, would it have turned out differently? Look, it would be more funny if she wasn't driving in that state, where like you're literally completely blacking out. But I do think it's pretty hilarious. And you know what? I already talked about the LA, fires, and that's terrible. And I've got to try to mix it up with some, more funny news. And I hear you. I hear you out there in the comments. I read the comments, things like that. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you,
All right, so that'll just about cover thought crime. For
I do have
this
one. I
evening.
do have one more addition, if I could.
Yeah.
So I want to give a shout out. If you guys want to see the ultimate thought crime compilation, go to the Rebunked Records YouTube channel, and I have a song called "The Hood Rat Boogie."
The Hood Rat Boogie. It's got all the thoughts in there.
And it's a massive compilation of all the thoughts, and it's committing thought crimes, and it's really hilarious. So go check it out.
Yeah, I mean, it would. Jeremy's right. It would be more funny if she wasn't driving around where there's families trying to get places safely and people trying to get back and forth to work and might work night turn and these sort of things, right? Sometimes people are traveling, because you might say, why is a family on the road? Sometimes people are traveling, they're driving, across country or something like that, and they'd be on the road during odd hours like that when Hooters might be letting out. Now, also as a business owner, I don't think it behooves you. Well, first off, Hooters is going out of business, I heard, right?
Oh,
It's
really?
I'm pretty sure it's like one of those ones that are getting canceled these days because low economics and whatnot, right? But if you're a business owner or a bar owner, maybe you shouldn't let people get blackout drunk when they're working for you and then drive home, because that's probably bad. It's not a good thing. Can you afford an Uber? Does that thing exist yet? Yeah, it's on everyone's phone, right? So if I'm the bar owner and you entertain some clients at the bar and you got a little tipsy, here's the Uber. Here's the company Uber. Take it home. Be safe. No one needs to be getting into a car like that. And I'm betting she had coworkers and friends who kind of let her get into that situation too. She has self-responsibility, but she's not disciplined, obviously. And it's up to everyone else to kind of help keep each other safe in the midst of people acting like idiots like that. Because you think she knows the difference between 0.3 and 0.4? Like, drunk and dead? She was right on that edge. And then she's driving around in a big, heavy mechanical vehicle, not even knowing what's up. So I don't think that's it's a good sign, but that sort of thing's been going on for a long time. Having it caught on tape and having like the body cam footage of what those dudes go through on sometimes those situations, I thought that was worth the chuckles before we get into more serious things like people wanting to riot.
Yep, and I hope, and this is a pretty substantial rock bottom for any person to endure, the public humiliation and shaming that she's probably experiencing right now. So I hope that's enough of a rock bottom for her to recognize the problem for what it is and maybe get some help. And I'm definitely praying for her. That's the moral of the story of that Hood Rat Boogie video is like, I kind of make fun of a lot of these like tweaker chicks like in the video, but then like at the end, I put myself on blast, and it's like, it's fun to make fun of, but at the end of the day, I sincerely hope these people do get the help they need, because it's no way to live like that. Yeah.
And it sounds like, first I thought she was promoting the Israeli Where's Daddy app, but no, she's all into a different thing. But seriously, I'm wondering what type of dude lets his daughter work at Hooters in the first place.
Yeah.
Is she doing research? Is she building a skill set? Is she creating, like, that's like a little terrarium. And it's like, show tits make money. It's not unlike a strip club, except instead of a straight pole, they use hula hoops. That's the
I wonder,
difference.
did Hooters ever have a DEI policy in place? I'm very curious because it's kind of mutually exclusive.
If
Wouldn't it
it
be?
did, I mean, I don't know. That would have been a thing. I don't think
I
it
was
did.
I was gonna say on that really quick, just on that
Mhm.
note, I was looking at some stuff, and I was just curious what that HRC besides Hillary Rodham Clinton was, right? The HRC organization. So I was looking into it a
Yeah.
little bit, which led me to an article by the Bay Area Reporter, which has been serving the San Francisco Bay Area LGBT community since 1971. So, they have a definite take on it. But they reached out to some of these organizations for comment, and the only one that did. And so, these companies being some of the ones that had rescinded their policies, Tractor Supply, Harley Davidson, Jack Daniels, Lowe's, blah, blah, blah. Molson Coors, the beer company, did respond. And part of their response said, they will no longer be participating. Oh gosh, where did it go? Basically, the gist of it was that they said that they have completed their I highlighted it and I lost my highlight, dang it. But anyway, it was basically they've completed their DEI training, and so therefore it's no longer needed. So we're going to be
They've
ending the
completed their
program
transition.
just because all of our employees have gotten the information, and so we no longer need it. So that's kind of like their way. They're kind of like they're not like taking a moral stance against it. They're saying, hey, all of our employees got it already, so we don't really need it. So thanks.
Unfortunately, what they're going to find out is, they flip a switch with these policies, but the American public has a memory and they still have, Bud Light in their mouth, bitter taste, that sort of thing, right? It doesn't go away just because Kid Rock comes out and says Bud Light's cool again. Sorry, you took that money and put it there. We don't believe him, and I'm not a Bud Light drinker anyway. I'm just talking about like for we men, like when they try to sway us in the market, they're like, no, we're cool again. No, we're cool again. We were about taking away your rights during COVID, but we're cool again. No, dude, that thing you did during COVID, see you in another lifetime.
Yep,
Because
dude,
what you guys did was permanent, and everybody who was alive and went through that and tried to obfuscate the rules and stay out of the vaccine mandate for the gene therapy and, resist $1 trillion marketing campaign based on lies and psychological warfare. That's long-term red pill shit. And you guys had no idea of what you opened up with your little event 201. So
yeah, exactly. Well, there's so much of that going on right now. So many people are positioning themselves on the side of freedom when they were dead wrong during COVID about it. Not only dead wrong, but also actively promoting the vaccine, the masking, the lockdowns, everything. So many of those people are migrating over to the side of freedom opportunistically because they see an opening, a way to make money. And one case in particular, I got in this big Twitter battle with this guy this last week because I called out Whitney Cummings because she got propped up as she did this big thing on CNN where she was talking trash about the regime, and he was like, oh, it's great that she's coming to our side. I was like, she's shilling, dude. She's just an opportunist. He's like, well, do you have any evidence of that? I went back and took screenshots of her during COVID promoting the vaccine, encouraging the vaccine. She was selling masks, her own personal masks. I'm like, here you go. Here's some shilling. He's like, well, that doesn't fit my definition of shilling. Anyway, here's my point: is that these people can have like a mea culpa moment, and like a Jimmy Dore is a great example. Jimmy Dore is a great example. Like you own it, and then you start doing some. But now it's like you can tell when someone's doing it opportunistically. And I would say like Chris Cuomo is a great example. I'm just like, no, you're not allowed on my team. You're not allowed on my team right now. Yeah, and it's like so with like a Whitney Cummings, for example, I'm like, okay, so during the lockdowns, you made all this money and profited, and we're allowed to have a YouTube channel, for example, and made millions of dollars on your YouTube channel.
Well, everyone else got censored.
Yes, exactly. And you didn't say anything when it mattered. So here's where I'll work a deal with you, Whitney Cummings. You take 75% of your wealth that you made and you donate it to the freedom people that are out here fighting for your freedom, that we're out here fighting for your freedom. I'm not saying me. I'm not like putting myself. I'm just saying people that are actively seeking to reinforce and protect your freedom. Okay. Whatever that looks like, donate 75% of your money that you made over the last few years to those people. You sit down and you shut up for the next 4 years while the people that are fighting for freedom try to fix what you did. Okay. And then maybe in 4 years, you can come and I might consider listening to your apology. And at that point, you can do an open mic. You can host an open mic somewhere. Okay. Besides that, shut up.
I mean, stand-up comedians don't make a lot of money, first off, so I wouldn't go hoping on that type of rain. Secondly, I do think she writes for a bunch of different comedy shows and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And, talent-wise for comedy, she's funny. But when you get politics based on you watch MSNBC or CNN, it's like, first off, the people who host those channels, I'll include Fox or whoever in that, the mainstream media corporate channels, the internationalist-owned channels, they know you don't know any better, and that's why you're watching them. So when Whitney Cummings is on CNN, it's like you're talking to a bunch of people who don't respect themselves enough to actually get an education behind the things that are being shown on the cave wall. It's a digital cage wall. It has bright, shiny pictures these days and motion graphics, but it's all Plato's cave. And there are people who love the cave, and they're never coming out. They're never coming out. So I say leave them to Jesus.
Yeah, exactly. And Whitney,
leave them to Socrates.
Yeah, Whitney's just another thought. Get out of here.
Well,
Thought criminal, Whitney Cummings.
Always beware of making fun of people who make fun of people for a living. That's like a piece of wisdom right there.
Amen.
She can make something out of that.
Everyone's doing some kind of self-help these days, and you can find a million self-help courses out there. Most other courses out there are hosting lectures. They're hosting videos. They're maybe even doing Q&As. And these are great starting points to encourage learning. But at Autonomy, we believe that hands-on practice is the best way to really lock in what we're learning. There's no better way to gain confidence and mastery than through action. After each lecture, we practice the concepts we've learned with other students, giving and receiving feedback in a non-judgmental environment. The result is mastery of concepts like entrepreneurship, ethical sales, and self-reliance in an environment that directly translates to the real world. Plus, you make connections with other like-minded individuals who are learning right alongside you, and you have a lifetime membership in the community. The Autonomy course with Richard Grove equips you with confidence, competence, and courage in a world filled with confusion and noise. You can learn more at getautonomy.info. We'll see you there.
What makes the Grand Theft World podcast unique, invigorating, exciting, and informative? Most other podcasts out there are either doing straight up interviews or they're just covering the daily news. They're covering current events from the day they happened. And that is effective. It's useful. It's a great starting point. And then sometimes these current events change during the week past the first story. So we like to give it a little time. You have to wait till some of the dust settles on these stories in order to give them accurate coverage. And the other thing that's really missing in the media landscape is covering the articles that are coming out every day. That's great. That's necessary. But who's bringing in contextual history so that you can understand what has been going on for decades and decades to lead up to the machinations and actions that we see unfolding today? So what we do here on the podcast is we cover current events. Many of these things are censored, but we wait about a week. As a forensic historian, I focused mainly through my career on the history of globalism and collectivism and things that they call maybe the New World Order. There's a lot of facts to these sort of circumstances, groups, events, activities, working groups that they've had over time. So for Grand Theft World listeners, we not only break down the current events, most of which that are censored during the week, we provide you with contextual history, we give you the source notes, the references, we do deep dives, and this really empowers you with an understanding of context and history so that you can make more informed decisions in your life. There's also a community, a membership where you guys can actually ask questions and we can get into the show and we can share evidence. And there's a town hall weekly for Grand Theft World for those who listen to it and are interested in covering the stories that we don't get to during a 6-hour show. Listening to it an hour a day, you could easily consume the week's news, but you're going to have substance and meaning and context and understanding. And with that, you can make higher quality decisions in your life. So if you're interested in more quality in your life, go to grandtheftworld.com, click podcast at the top, and we'll see you there. Thank you.
These allegations are false.
This isn't Grand Theft Auto, folks. This isn't a video game.
What are the most surprising things that you discovered once you started pulling on that thread? Who he was connected to, what institutions he was influential over, what events he participated in?
Come on, man. What are we talking about? Come on, man. No.
You don't have to think about it, dude.
I got this quote because you said you didn't know much about Klaus Schwab. I made it my job to, as soon as this happened, I'm like, okay, this guy's their front man. Let me learn about the official history of the World Economic Forum. I got their 40-year history. I got every book that Klaus Schwab has written or ghostwritten. I went through those books. This is one of the most interesting passages.
Come on, man. Come on.